Good afternoon, folks. Hope everyone is okay and all well. I'm going to do a battle report today using black powder. This is actually part of a mini campaign that we're doing. And basically, this battle today is during the Spanish Succession, and it's a relief force, a British relief force, Allied relief force, trying to relieve a siege, and they're being blocked by a French blocking force. So we'll start off first with the British, or I should say Allied. So we got a Guards Brigade there, 4 battalions, Line Brigade, 4 battalions, a Dutch Prussian Allied Brigade, 4 battalions, battery of 2 guns, and a regiment of dragoons. The French blocking force consists of a brigade of French with a Cuirassier regiment, battery of 2 artillery pieces there on the hill, and a brigade of Bavarians. Like I said, this is part of a mini campaign we're doing, so the British basically have to break through this this blocking force to relieve the city of Lille. And we'll use slight amendments to the normal black powder rules, and that's these ones here. The biggest change to try and slow down the movement and firing phase that you have with black powder, because with the current rules you can basically move. You could end up moving right up to a defender and firing straight into them without the defender having a lot to do. So with these amendments, there's a couple of amendments on with these rules, but the biggest one is this here. So you can see there you have the initiative phase, which is not the command phase, just initiative moves, then the firing phase, then the command phase. So the firing phase and the command phase are swapped around. There are a couple of additional little rules as well. You can see there -1 fired on command, -1 if you fired this turn on command, and other things such as cavalry can't charge, basically cavalry can't charge into the front of infantry that aren't shaken, and also infantry don't only have certain formations they can use. The main will obviously be in line, but they can pivot and then move, but they can't change into column, only column of march, which obviously we'll not be using on this game. So that's it. My plan, I will be the British or the Allies. My opponent, of course, will be the French Bavarians. My main plan, I think, will be, I can say this at the moment because he's out of the room, but my main plan, I think, will be trying to hit the Bavarians first. Maybe putting a bit of moving my Allied Brigade forward and opening and having volley fire with the French Brigade. But my main force, which is the chunk of the British, I will push against the Bavarians in the hope of turning that flank. The only problem is there's more terrain on this side of the battlefield, which is going to slow me down, because with these rules you also have to stop a move if you hit a linear obstacle. The river will count as, well, the stream we're counting it as is just classed as difficult terrain, so they would have to stop there on one move. Then getting over the hedge, they would then have to stop again. It's basically to reflect redressing their ranks as you move over difficult terrain. So they will be slow going forward, but with 8 battalions in these 2 brigades, I'm quite confident that I can push that Bavarian brigade from that flank. So we'll get going, and we'll see what happens in turn 1. Okay, Allied move 1, and I managed to get one of my brigades forward. So this is the middle brigade, the British Line Brigade. They managed to get a full 3 moves, so they managed to get over the stream, and they're just on the other side of the hedge that you can see there. My Allied Brigade managed to get a brigade move, just a 1 move though, so they just moved forward. We're using the 3/4 scale, so movement for infantry line is 8 inches rather than 12. That's due to the size of the table. The artillery fired this turn. My battery of 2 guns, but unfortunately didn't do any damage. They attempted to fire on the French brigade there. They get 4 hits, but they were all saved. And I've not moved my dragoons forward now. Obviously they're only really useful once the enemy is shaken a little bit, so they'll be staying in reserve for now. My guards brigade commander let me down, unfortunately, failed his command role, and they've not moved forward. So the next turn, or the next part of turn 1, will be the French allies, and sorry, French and allies, and we'll see what they do. I think they are out of range because I couldn't fire either this turn, but they could, I suppose. Well, no, they can't. Actually, what I was going to say, that they could move forward and fire, but with these rules, well, these amendments, they can't do that. But to be honest, they're likely just to stay there anyway. I don't think they would push forward. So I don't think they're going to have much of a turn this turn, other than their artillery. So we'll let them get on with that, and then we'll move on to the next turn. Okay, French allied turn 1. As we suspected, no great movement, but they did manage to fire their artillery battery at this brigade that was moving forward of mine, and it's quite successful. They got 2 hits, 1 on each battalion, and a disordered marker on one of the battalions as well. So a good day for the French gunners. Now we'll move on to my turn 2. Okay, British Allied turn 2. Didn't fail at any of my brigade rolls this time, but I only got 1 move on each brigade. So all I did for my middle brigade is leave them where they were. I just moved the 1 battalion across the stream because I don't want to push too far forward without the Guards Brigade. At the moment the Guards Brigade is struggling. Again, only 1 move this time, so they're lagging behind a little bit. But I don't want to push this brigade too far forward because they'll be stranded on their own, because these guys here still have to get across the stream, which hopefully they will do in the next turn, and we can have the line going forward all as one rather than piecemeal, which has happened before when I've played Black Powder rules. If anyone's seen my American Civil War, the first time I played Black Powder, one of my brigades then got stranded, or rather one of my battalions or regiments got stranded because the rest of them didn't catch up. So I don't want that to happen again. So that's it as my turn on turn 2. And the French, again, we're still out of range from muskets on this turn, so it'll be down to their artillery. See if they can get a couple more hits on my battalions moving forward. So we'll see how the French Allied do on the next turn. French Allied turn 2. Basically nothing happened on this turn. They only had the artillery that could fire, and they didn't get any. They got some hits on the Dutch battalions and moving up over here. Well, they both were saved, so nothing really for the French on this turn. So we'll see how I progress on a Allied turn 3. Okay, so British Allied turn 3. Not a good turn for the British brigade commanders this turn. You can see my Guards brigade commander. They did very well. They got 3 moves, which then pushed them all the way forward across the stream and the hedge. You can see there my brigade commanders looking over in his telescope, wondering what the other brigades are doing, and you can see why. So the British brigade got a blunder. I don't think I've ever played a game and not got a blunder at some point during the game. So the entire brigade has moved 1 move to the left, which puts them totally in the wrong place where they should be. So that's not good. So I'm going to try and move them back, obviously, in the next turns. But that's not good for my units pushing forward, especially the Guards Brigade now. And this brigade here, just failed their command brigade move, so they've not even got across the stream yet. So although I thought the right flank was going to be the more difficult, it now appears that the Allies on the left are struggling to get across this quite open, apart from the stream, terrain. And one of my brigades has just gone off on a tangent and decided to head towards the other side of the battlefield. So not a good turn for me, and I've got to try and sort this out before I attempt to attack. They will be in musket range now, so they are going to get hit by this French turn. So we'll see how the French react on turn 3. It might even push them to be a bit more bold, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, French allied turn 3, and they did cause some casualties on this turn, as we suspected they would, on the brigade that decided to dash off to the left. So the general's not going to be very pleased with that brigade commander. They'd lost one of their units that did break, and you can see there they've got some extra hits and disorder. The Guards Brigade also received some disorder markers. They aren't classed as elite with these rules, with these amendments. They only classed as superbly drilled, so they won't be able to remove those disorder markers, unfortunately, until the end of the turn, end of their turn. So we'll move on to my turn and see if I can sort out this brigade and get them back into the centre. And we should get a chance to return fire. We've got platoon or fire by platoons, which also gives us a +1 for the British. Not for the sorry, for the Dutch as well, but not for the other allied units. So that makes a difference. So with first fire and platoon fire, that's an extra 2 dice for that first volley. So got to make it count. So some good dice rolls from the French that turn. So hopefully we'll get some good dice rolls on our turn as well. So on to the next one. So British Allied turn 4, and managed to sort our lines out a little bit on this turn and cause some casualties on the French battalions. Not as successful as I would have hoped, with 5 dice per battalion, the ones that could fire. But we did cause a few casualties. You see over there. Actually, that French battalion there was hit by the artillery, which caused that casualty. Same with that disorder marker there as well. And the Guards managed to cause 1 casualty and disorder marker each for those 2 Bavarian battalions. So not as successful as I would have wanted for their first fire, but at least we're sorting out our lines now, and we can start to move forward. So the next turn, the next part of turn 4 will be the French response. So again, they've had their first fire for 4 battalions now, so there are still 4 battalions that haven't used first fire, so they'll get the extra dice if any of my battalions are in range. So we'll see what happens on the next turn for the French. Okay, turn 4 for the French Allied, and they didn't actually do as much damage this turn. They did manage to make that unit there shaken, but apart from that, no other casualties. Poor dice rolling, I must have jinxed them on the previous comment, because they didn't roll very well this turn. So I should now be able to push forward, and if I can weaken them a little bit with my firepower, and then start pushing forward and engaging them. It's looking a little bit more promising after the chaos of the brigade that decided to go off on its own little route. So we'll see what happens on my turn. Okay, turn 5 for the British Allied Forces, and we've made some progress on this turn. The Guards Brigade basically went in with the bayonet. They survived the closing fire and successfully broke 2 of the Bavarian battalions, which means, I'll double check this, but I believe if you down to 50% on the brigade has to retire. So on the French Allied turn, that brigade will have to retire now. I suppose that's a way to stop that from happening is to have bigger brigades. But then obviously it's more difficult with larger brigades to get every battalion to do what you want unless it's a brigade move. So I'll double check that, but I think that is right. That if they're down to 50% shaken or broken, then the rest of the battalions, if they're within 12 inches of enemy, then they have to retire for one turn. I'll double check that. The rest of the force I mean, you can see there the commander's still looking over here because he's probably wondering what's going on with this lot. They've not moved forward. They failed their command role, so they stayed where they are. But I did manage to get the Allied brigade further forward. So they're starting to push in now, and it's probably about this point that maybe I'll start moving the cavalry up and just have them ready just in case some of these units become shaken. With the firepower, well, with the charges, if you can survive the closing fire, then the chances are after melee somebody's going to be shaken. So we'll try and push them up on the next turn. But the next turn 5 is for the French, so the French will have to respond, and if they do end up losing this brigade over here, then obviously the road's wide open there, so they're going to have to do something about that. Otherwise, this brigade here is going to be a bit isolated. So it's not going too bad for me at the moment after a disastrous start with the brigades moving forward. So we'll see how the French respond on this turn. Okay, turn 5 for the French allies. I did read the rules again, and it states that they only have to move 12 inches away from them. If they're not shaken or disordered or anything, they're pretty well. The units we've got have no hits, so they're absolutely fine. So as part of the brigade morale, they move 12 inches away from the enemy. They don't have to retreat off the table, which makes more sense, I suppose, because they are perfectly fine. They've not had any hits. So that you can see there, they've just pulled back onto the road. The remainder of the French obviously just stayed in position and continued to fire. Not very successful. A couple of hits on these two Dutch units here, but nothing else. Artillery hits on the unfortunate British Line Brigade, which hasn't done a lot so far in this game. So I really need them to do something on this turn, on turn 6 for the Allies, British Allies. So hopefully push them forward, and then they can at least do something, because I really want to sweep that brigade, the Guards Brigade, around and start hitting hit the Bavarians and then start to roll up the flank. Only one of the units is shaken at the moment, so they're pretty solid, but I really need this brigade to sort itself out and distract at least the French in front of them, so for me to be able to do that. So we'll see what happens on turn 6 and how the battle progresses. Okay, so here we are on turn 6 of the British Allied. We did actually pause the game yesterday due to light fading, so this is actually the next day, but not the next day in the battle. So on my turn this time, I managed to consolidate my line a little bit. So there, this brigade sort of got into line. One of the units failed its command, so that's not quite in line. I decided on this turn to do more battalion command orders rather than brigades, particularly for the Guards Brigade, because I didn't want the whole brigade to fail. So I wanted it to swing right and then charge into the Bavarians. Fortunately, 3 of the units passed their command, but only 1 managed to engage the Bavarians. And I'll just move this over here. You can see that the one on the far right there is the one that failed, and the one there with the shaken markers, that's the one that made contact with that Bavarian regiment there, or Bavarian battalion. Unfortunately for me, they managed to fend me off, and I had to retire because I failed my morale check or break test. So still okay, I think. It's now the French turn for their turn 6. So we'll see how they respond. They've managed to secure their line with those 2 Bavarian battalions and managed to fend off 1 attack by the Guards Brigade, despite the previous turn obviously losing 2 of their battalions to the Guards Brigade. But we'll see how the French commander responds now on this turn. Okay, so French turn 6, and I've actually paused it here well, almost completed this turn for the French, but it's such a, I think, a pivotal moment in the battle that I thought it better to just pause it here and just go through what actually happened. So the French on this turn, obviously they fire first with these wheels and then do their movement. So they had a very successful volley fire all along the hedge, all 4 battalions of the French brigade. They, as you can see there, what I've done, I've separated the actual markers or hits. So the ones that are here at the front, they're the ones that were basically after the shooting. So that unit became shaken, and these 2 units became shaken. After this, on the other side, not so much, just 1 hit there on that battalion. But after such a successful round of shooting from the French, I think that bolstered the French a little bit, and he decided to be a bit more aggressive. He charged all of his units over the hedge. They all got successful blows. In fact, 1 blundered, but it rolled a 6, which was a charge anyway, which was very lucky for him. So they all ploughed forward, and after fighting, they get obviously the +1 for charging. These units were already shaken, and the effect is that fight there that the British lost. I haven't done the break tests yet. We'll do them in a minute. That one was a draw. Obviously both got supports there. That one again was a British loss, well, Dutch loss, and that one again was a Dutch loss. So that's why I stopped it here at this point, because this is quite pivotal in the game, and I didn't expect the French to be so aggressive. But after that successful shooting, I think they decided to take their chance, and it's worked out for them. I'll do the break test now. I'm not with a -2 or -3 on one, and in fact -3 on all of them, because of the hits and the disorders. I'm not expecting good results, but might be able to. They might stay. If not, then I'm in serious trouble. So I'll do the break test now, and then I'll finish up the French Ally turn 4. Okay, so we continued French turn 6, and I did fail my break tests. Not only that, because of the sweeping advance rule for the French cavalry, they hit the 1 unit that wasn't actually shaken or damaged, and broke them as well in melee. So the Allied brigade is no more. Really, it's got, well, both units are retiring. At least these didn't break here; they did just retire. And because this was basically the only unit left in that brigade that wasn't shaken or destroyed, the brigade had to retire, so they had to move back in a way, even though they did get a draw with that attack by the French battalions. So the aggressive tactics of the French did work, and the cavalry did very well. Only 2 hits on them. No closing fire when you do a sweeping advance. Apparently that's because it happens so fast. So they hit the battalion, the first battalion, swept through them, broke them, then the sweeping advance and hit the battalion in the rear. Unfortunately for me, broke them as well. So it's not looking good for me at the moment. Still static really they weren't on the other flank. The French weren't aggressive on that side, which you can imagine, because they've only got the 2 battalions that are still going up against a fairly strong Guards brigade. But this side for me is just an utter disaster. Well done for the French player for being so aggressive. I did expect him just to sit behind that hedge line and just rely on his volleys to keep me at bay, but after his successful round of firing, he decided to be more aggressive and take the battle to me, and it worked splendidly for him. So we shall see on my turn 7 how I can recover from this. I haven't actually done, so I've just noticed now that yes, I did pull back my brigade, my Allied brigade, because they were down to less than 50%. But my other brigade now as well, because of that 1 battalion that has now been broken, they are going to have to pull back as well. So that's these 2 battalions here, because they're now at 50% of their strength. So yeah, not sure what I can do. I'll just read up again on the rules about brigade morale and see, do they just pull back and just sit there basically and they can't advance anymore? If so, then I don't see what else I can do, but we'll see weapons in turn 7. Okay, so a quick check of the rules, and yes, we have the brigade morale rules, but we also have the army morale rules. And if 50% of the brigades in your army are broken, then the remaining brigades classed as broken as well, which basically signifies the end of the game unless you've got some sort of special rules. So that is it for the end of the game. So yeah, it was quite brutal on this left hand side. There were a couple of key points I think in the game. One was my centre brigade going off on a tangent, which messed my plans up a little bit. The other was the guards brigade not successfully pushing that Bavarian brigade enough, not successful attacks enough. Yes, they did break 2 battalions, but didn't do as well as I hoped they would. But obviously, the main pivotal moment in the battle was the aggressiveness of the French brigade and cavalry once they had successful volleys and had whittled down my advancing brigades. So yeah, a good response from the French and a well-deserved victory. So we will call it a day there. There's probably a couple of things that we missed on the rules. We are using the Black Powder version 1 rather than Black Powder 2 because I don't have those rules. And we are obviously using the amendments that I mentioned before about the Spanish succession, which I think helps to slow the game down a little bit, so it's not such a advance, shoot, melee, or I think for this period it definitely helps, and the restrictions on what sort of formations you can have also helps. But yeah, it was a good game. Unfortunately, it looks like the siege is going to continue, so I will not be able to relieve it. So we shall see how that affects the campaign, and we'll hopefully have some battle reports further along in the future. Thanks for watching.